Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Nuance. I am in Ningbo, China right now. Some of you may not have heard Ningbo, but it is a huge manufacturing city. Estimates between like 5 and 9 million, depend on where you put the borders of the city. But it is dense and it makes a lot of stuff. And I was actually visiting with a factory, an office of a factory here in the factory district. And we were talking about a product that's manufactured here that they're going to send to the States. And I figured, I really want to talk about something on Nuance. I want to talk a little bit about tariffs. Big in the news right now. Donald Trump just, made his Liberation Day or whatever. When the idea of raising all these tariffs on broad spectrums of products on a huge scale sort of came into the discussion politically, I was like, people are going to wise up to this. To me, it was pretty obvious. I had been living in China and working as a sourcing agent and a supplier agent and designer of products here in China. And I just thought, people are going to understand, how detrimental the type of tariff practices he's talking about are going to be on everything. But here we are, a second administration, and here we go. I don't think it's going to do any good by any stretch. And maybe it's because I have kind of firsthand knowledge of the effects of tariffs and how they should be used and how they shouldn't be used. And in my opinion, this is the way they shouldn't be used. Maybe I can shed some light on this topic by coloring it with some real life experience. Now, I moved to China almost 20 years ago to pursue a career and run a business that I started that was sourcing products in China, designing products for companies abroad to make here, talking to those factories and getting those factories on board with the designs from America. I had been burnt on a number of occasions because if you're not here on the ground in China and you're describing a product that you want made from America, that description can get twisted. That's why quality control is so important. And you might ask for red and get pink. You might ask for 8 ounces and get 8 liters. You might ask for something made out of metal and have it be plastic. I ordered like 2,500 hip flasks, the flasks that you put in your pocket, you put alcohol in them. And I didn't do quality control properly. And the customer called me from the States and said, "Hey Matt, could you fill this thing up with water and do something for me?" I was very confused. I filled it up with water and he said, "Squeeze it." I squeezed it and the water just shot through the stainless steel material and hit me in the face. And I realized how important quality control is. You have to literally look at everything and make sure that the I's are dotted or the T's are crossed, or some company out there is going to take advantage of you. That was a long time ago. China has improved a lot since then, but I'm sure that stories like those exist. So anyways, I came to China and I started looking at products and investigating products, doing quality control. I'm trying to watch over those things so that I could avoid getting hit in my face with my own product's flaw. But anyways, we had a project once. I don't remember the exact product, but it was happening at a time, the order was happening at a time that the Fed raised rates and it affected Chinese currency against the American dollar. The product was basically finished, but I needed the final payment. But the product hadn't been funded to the factory quite yet, and I hadn't gotten, maybe I was waiting for a large percentage of the money to come from the client to pay for the order. But along the way, there was, I think it was like a perfect storm. There was a tariff fluctuation and there was a currency fluctuation. And it basically absorbed all of my cushion, which was the profit that I had against what I had charged the factory for. I went to the factory and I asked the factory, I said, "Hey, the currency changed. I need to stick with my price to the customer, but the price to the customer doesn't give me the same amount of money back in order to pay you for the order. Can you help me out here?" And you know what the factory said? "That's a you problem. That's not a me problem." Sometimes you can get factories here in China to work with you. It happens, especially if you have a good relationship. China's all about relationships, and in fact, they have a word for it called guanxi. If you have good guanxi, you can kind of like leverage some of that to try to recoup potential losses. But it was the first time I had used this factory, and this factory was like, you are of no value to me, so you pay me for my product and get out. I had to take and absorb that difference in order to supply the products to the customer. I could have and should have raised the customer's price, and I would have if they reordered that product, because I would have to have adjusted my price in China to compensate for the increase in currency and tariff percentage. You might get away with some of these things is on the fringes, like that are in process when he raises tariffs. You might still be able to get that last product sent over at the original price that you paid. But as soon as they get a reorder, after the tariffs have been adjusted, the Chinese factories are gonna make the same profit on that product. They're only gonna raise the price to the end user because you're gonna end up paying the increased tariff. And let me explain that a little bit more. You are going to pay that tariff. If you're in America, you're buying on the shelf. Let me explain that, whether you're a consumer or whether you're a distributor or retailer in America. Most of the products here, profit is made on the fringes. They deal in quantity. So if you're producing 25,000 units of an item here, you can make 10 cents on each item and still make a $2,500 profit, right? Then that product gets shipped out and sent to a distributor. And the distributor might sell a box of 10 products and then send that 10 products to individual companies that will end up retailing that product. Those companies will make a larger percentage because they're selling smaller quantities. They don't have to make that one large chunk of profit on 25,000 units. So instead, they'll raise the price. Let's say the product is 90 cents. The company in China will raise the price 10 cents. It'll be $1 by the time it gets to America. I'm really simplifying. Then when it gets to America, the American company will raise that by, let's say they double it. Let's say they take that item that's $1 and they double it to $2. Then they're making $1 a piece, $10 on that box to the retailer. The retailer takes that $2 item and then the retailer marks it up to $5. Retailers take the hugest profit margin based on individual product. So they're making big money on those items. And then you as the customer will come and buy that item for $5. Where do you think the absorption of that tariff is going to be? Well, it's not going to be on the Chinese factory. They're making 10 cents. They're not going to make 5 cents. That's not going to be how it works. What might happen is if there's an intermediary like me that's a trading company that's in China that has a little bit of buffer price built in, he might take a little sacrifice. But again, he's only going to do that on the first order. If you reorder, he's going to adjust that price and say that's the fee that we need to pay in order to cover the increased tariff. Is the distributor going to cut his price? Because, you know, most companies in America are altruistic and are going to do things the right way and are going to sacrifice for the sake of their customer. No, that's not how Trump plans to do it. Like, he's trying to make American businesses more successful. So he's taking and raising the price to the distributors. The distributors are going to price that product now increase. So instead of buying something for $1, they got to increase the tariff fee by 10% or 20%. You're going to have that product be bought by the distributor for $1.20 now. He's going to raise that price to the retailer, and the retailer is going to buy that product, let's say, for a double price. Let's say it doubles, and then it's going to be $2.40 by the time it gets to the retailer, and the retailer is going to sell it on their shelf for $5.80. So that product is now going to be sold for $5.80 to you, the consumer. You're absorbing that tariff. Just like my customer has to absorb increases in the tariff percentage or currencies fluctuations or whatever. The factories in China are not paying more money. They're going to make the exact same profit. The only people that are going to hurt are the people buying stuff on the shelves in America. That's the people who are going to hurt. At a time when America's liquidity for cash is very low. Most people don't have a lot of cash on hand to pay extra fees for things. If anything, China has been a boon to the middle class, allowing their money to go farther and buy more when their wages haven't increased. The people you should be the angriest with are the people who aren't going to be hurt because they're just going to raise the price on the end user. They're always the ones that win in this equation, and the only people that lose are the people who are not the big business people who apparently know better than all of us on the ground in America. It's really shitty. We should be honestly thanking China for making, well, businesses should be thanking China for being able to pull the wool over the eyes of the American public, making them realize that they've been buying stuff so cheaply, and maybe inflation and income disparity should have been adjusted to allow people to afford stuff made in America. That would be the ultimate goal. On par, all the way around, allow people's status of living to go up so that they can afford stuff to made. I wouldn't mind everything to be made in America. Let's put China out of business with regards to America supply. But that's not going to happen. First of all, like I said, most Americans are not rich enough to afford this sort of an adjustment in their lifestyle. Two, China has been perfecting the art of making shit for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. They've been making things. Hell, every car on the street here is made with parts from China or a brand here in China, and they're not shit. They're amazing products. They have built the systems to become this sort of a country that makes stuff for companies all over the world. If you think America's just going to jump in and be able to, one, make the products, and two, staff the factories to make those products, you're crazy. Because a lot of that is skilled work. Some of it is skilled work, but a lot of it also is manual labor. And Americans are excommunicating people from America that do most of our manual labor via this purge of immigrants. That's another topic, and that's something you can get into. But if you're a pro getting these illegal immigrants out of the country, you should also understand that when you do, all of those people that used to do the labor that we don't want to do will be gone too. So you might be happy, we got all these people who are worthless out of this country, and they're not worthless. They have worth. They have worth every time you were to buy a vegetable or eat an orange, unpack something that's in a box that was put together by somebody that had come over the border. You can agree or disagree with illegal immigration, but these people have been doing stuff for all of us in America for a very long time, and you can't just flip a switch and suddenly think that typical Americans are going to go hit the bricks, get their hands dirty, and do what they were doing. Finding labor, finding the skills in the factories, setting up the factories, learning how to make these products, and then doing it at a price point that Americans can afford because they have been accustomed to buying stuff that's made in China at a bargain price, at a quality that they're okay with. And also, I always drives me crazy because people talk about the quality of Chinese-made goods. Do you know why the quality of that Chinese-made good is the level it is? Because we paid for it. You can find more expensive factories in China. In fact, most of the goods that you buy in the States that you think of as high quality have been made here, but under a label that's slapped on over the hard work of the Chinese companies that made it. In fact, I mean, there's a company over here around the corner that's owned by a friend of mine. It's called Nature Hike. They make camping equipment. Really nice camping equipment. It's not like the highest end camping equipment in the world, but it's really, really good stuff. Made here in China and sent, I think they make like $300 million a year in product sales all around the world, except for America. I'm trying to help them get some penetration into America. It's just frustrated me so much that people think that the tariffs is going to be a goose that's going to provide everybody in the United States some sort of golden egg. And it's going to be the sheer opposite for most of us. You know who's going to get that golden egg? People like Donald Trump. People who can see a recession up ahead and understand, I can buy because I have liquid. I can buy in that dip. And as the economy moves up, I can profit. Because he knows you're all going to be screwed. He knows it. And he's going to profit from your loss. It's the scummiest scumbag thing that you could do. And there's so many scumbag things that are being done today in America. But trust me, I'm on the floor of China. And for those of you out there that are just looking to stick it to China because you hate this country, because you have this preconceived notion put into your mind by a bunch of idiots who spew a nonsensical bullshit about how China is out there to get you and it's the boogeyman and it's this evil regime that's doing horrible things. I can also tell you many things that are happening in China that are bad, that are happening exactly the same in other countries. You think corruption, government contracts being handed out, profit being made under the table, some people being treated unfairly. You think that happens only in China, or that it's the cause of this evil government that people think? No, it happens everywhere. It's basically cost of doing business for countries as powerful as China and America and different places that are doing horrible and despicable things to people under the guise of freedom and democracy. That's not to say I hate America or anything. I'm just keeping it real. You got to add nuance to the conversation. But if you're looking at these tariffs as an actual form of punishment on China, you don't know China very well. China plans ahead first, and China has its finger in a whole lot of pies. Well, America is becoming isolationists, pulling out of agreements and cooperatives that are meant to spread soft power around the world, to give people the impression that America is important and America is part of a global community. It's been make America great again. Isolate this country into a monolithic state and remove yourself from the environmental policies that people are working on as a group, or the protectionist policies that people are working as a group, or basically anything that is outreaching and showing that you're a global player. We're restricting. Well, you know what? China, like it or not, has been spreading itself around all over the world, building infrastructure, building roads, building train centers, building ports, helping countries. And to say that, again, I hate to have to sugarcoat everything with like this stupid disclaimer, but you have to, or else I'll get ridiculed for it. Are all the projects going to happen perfectly? Are all of them going to treat everybody fairly? Are all of them going to make everybody happy? No. But when all is said and done, and there's a port that's delivering goods to a part of the world that doesn't have that infrastructure, when there's a train that can deliver people from a smaller town into a bigger town for work, and when there's a road that connects people, and that road was built by China, the majority of people are going to be happy with China and are going to bring China to closer to them, especially with the isolationist policies of America. And so if you think that these tariffs are going to do anything that's being like spouted to you, whether it's going to allow factories to come back to America, maybe. Prices to come down, no way. Prosperity to come to the country, maybe for the big businesses, that's true, but not for ordinary people, unless you own a big business. And then this video isn't necessarily for you. Congratulations. Congratulations, big business. And I'm not anti-big business. You know, you can do your thing. I want to have a successful business too, you know, but I don't know. Just really crazy. Anyways, I got another meeting. I'm going to go see my friend at Nature Hike and see what kind of new products he's selling all around the, you know, he doesn't even sell in America. And with these tariffs, he's probably not going to. Somebody could have gotten a really nice tent or camping gear or gone hiking with something that is perfectly good products, made really well. Might have made a company here in China some money, as well as the people along the way. And that's the other thing. There's so many pieces of a puzzle to think that the Chinese are making profit off of us because they sell us products. Trust me, when I was doing business in China for all of these years, I helped American businesses become more competitive, to make more money. They might have bought a little component, a little portion of their business from me, but it would help them become competitive and buy a whole lot more in America to sell to consumers in America at a better price at a higher quantity, and everybody was happier. Rising tide raises all ships. Anyways, take it easy, guys. I'm at a like this. This is like a shipping container. I actually just walked up here. There's some fish here. There's some fish drying. You want some fish? I saw this place next to the factory district and I thought, hey, maybe I could sneak upstairs, talk for a bit, and I did. It was perfect timing and it was nice and colorful. Eventually this area is going to be full of small businesses selling all sorts of cool stuff. Take it easy, guys. Bye.